Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Today, we are discussing a new program at Tarleton State University in animal production. And I'm pleased to be joined today by a faculty representative of the program, Dr. Trinette Jones. As we're going through the presentation, if you do have questions, feel free to submit those using the Q&A box or the chat box. We will handle those at the end. But at this time, I'll just turn things over to Dr. Jones.
All right. Thank you for that introduction. So I'm pleased to discuss with you all today the new program in animal sciences. It's a Masters of Ag, which is a new type of master's program that we're implementing with a focus in animal production. So the goal with this is to provide students with advanced coursework and a intensive internship experience so that they can be a highly qualified candidate for an industry position upon completion of this degree. So just to start off, we're just going to talk about program admission requirements and then segue into what this specific program looks like, including a timeline of completion. So in order to apply for this program, you have to really kind of take some thought into what you are pursuing the degree for. So with this program, there are 4 unique concentrations within the curriculum. So probably the first step before you even consider applying is what you have an interest in terms of animal production and industry specifics. And so identify that need. We're going to talk about the concentrations here in a couple slides, but really the goal is that you can develop a niche area in animal production. If need be, consult with faculty, either, if you're a Tarleton student, consulting with several of our faculty in animal science, and I'm going to introduce them later here in this presentation about those areas of interest and maybe even industry professionals to get an idea in terms of what coursework or what degree path would be best for their respective career. If you're not a Tarleton student, certainly seek advice from your faculty mentors at your institution or your previous institution where you got your bachelor's degree. So with the bachelor's degree, it is required that you have an animal science degree or a related field. So what are related fields? Biology, sciences, an agricultural degree is certainly sufficient. Maybe an ag business, ag comm, as long as there is an animal science curriculum. We do have students from other universities that they don't have an animal science program, but they have an agricultural program. And as long as the curriculum has general animal science courses in it, such as nutrition, reproduction, physiology, genetics, those are the foundation courses for our undergraduate program. And those are necessary in order to be successful in this field. If you're coming in with the biology major, there is a lot of translational information between human physiology and animal physiology. So there may be the potential of having to do a leveling course, which is an animal science, just so that you're familiar with the terminology and general animal production so that you can be successful in these advanced courses. A minimum GPA is a 2.7. And so we require that in terms of institutional GPA upon application. And then once you apply through the College of Graduate Studies first, and then your application does get sent to our department where our graduate coordinators will review that. And so there is a 2-step process to that. The exception would be any automatic admission programs that the university has in place for current Tarleton students. So this is just showing in terms of the online application, the link below in terms of how you would access that information. But as I mentioned previously, I would really take consideration in terms of pursuing the degree and getting consultation first, either from your faculty advisor or a industry professional that you know, so that you're just not simply, hey, I'm going to just continue on in my degree and not having a direction. That's really important with the professional program is really understanding what your career interests are prior to just simply, well, I just want to stay in school. And so I would encourage that initial conversation with a faculty mentor first or industry professional before you consider applying. So we're going to talk about the curriculum for this program and then some timelines. Excuse me. So this is a 31 coursework program. And it is set up where a student can finish it in what would be considered a 18-month, almost a full calendar year in a way, just over a full calendar year. So if you start in the fall, it's potentially that you could finish the following fall. So it's a 4-semester coursework timeline. And that's kind of a fast track one. We typically recommend that students plan for any type of master's program a 2-year commitment. And again, with the goal of finishing it within 4 continuous semesters. But just keep in mind that we just recommend students have that somewhat flexibility at the front in terms of trying to get finished in a timely manner. So there is 4 concentrations that are required that students can choose from within the curriculum, and this has to be declared upon application. Doesn't mean that you can't switch maybe later on in your program, because there are classes that overlap within those concentrations. But again, it's the focus of this is making sure that you identify that niche area that you want to focus in. There is an intensive 6-hour internship requirement, and this is really kind of the key component to this program. So we will provide you with that advanced curriculum where you can develop the critical thinking skills and more advanced theory, but really it's the application in the industry that's going to be of utmost importance, because it gives you that opportunity to apply what you've learned in in the classroom into a real life setting. And then lastly, there is a industry examination that all students are required to pass. And we allow students to take it as many times as possible and to ensure completion. And so you work with your advisor within the program in terms of timelines in which to take that exam so that you have ample time in which you can retake it. But it's actually through the industry, which we'll talk about here in a couple of slides in more detail. So there is a required component to this degree, 16 credits out of the 31. And so you take a graduate seminar your very first semester. It's the only seminar class that you need to take for this program. Your internship requirement, and then we require all of our students to take some sort of ethics, environmental issues course through our department, as well as a statistics course, and then professional communication. The internships are key, as I mentioned, and so these are industry-based in the area of your concentration. So if you say focused in nutrition, then we would assist in placing you in an area in the industry where you can gain more experience in animal nutrition, whether that's in dairy cattle, beef cattle, equine, poultry, what have you. So we work with partnerships in the industry to get that, to facilitate that internship opportunity. There's a minimum of 240 working hours. However, it's up to you and your cooperator for your internship in terms of how many hours are going to be needed, because you essentially would be working for that cooperator. So we just tell students if you're looking at it in terms of minimum hours, 240. But the goal is that you see it as a job opportunity. And experience. And so, there would be a contract that would be completed between you and the cooperator for that coursework. And you would then be needed to make sure that you fulfill the working requirements of that contract in order to earn the internship or credit for the internship. So as mentioned, there are 4 concentrations that we have within the program. So we have reproduction, and each one of them require that you take 3 courses. And so we have a block of reproduction. All students are in this block would be required to take domestic animal endocrinology. That would be really the foundation course. And then you would choose, depending on your interest, if you wanted to focus in equine reproduction or livestock animal production. And so you'd work with your advisor in terms of which of those 3 classes that you would like to take. So we have reproduction, we have physiology and welfare. A little bit longer list to this one, but you would choose three, again, working with your advisor and identifying really kind of what area of interest that you want to focus on as a career. So we have welfare, we have environmental physiology, animal metabolism, exercise physiology. We have for instance, we have students in the Masters of Ag that are interested in equine rehabilitation. So the exercise physiology would be a good one, as well as the welfare, the muscle chemistry and so forth. We have students that are interested in going in exotic animal welfare, such as zoos. They would take the measuring animal behavior plus the welfare and maybe environmental physiology. So again, you would work with your advisor in terms of which classes would be best suited for that career that you're focusing on. And then we have nutrition. And again, it would working with advisor in terms of identifying which three would be appropriate. If the student was focusing specifically in ruminant nutrition, then for instance, ruminant nutrition, metabolism, ruminant microbiology would be maybe the three that would be advised. If you're interested in livestock production in general, grazing management, maybe ruminant and non-ruminant. So it's nice you can focus in some key areas. And then lastly, we have a meat science concentration. And so you'd work again with the advisor in terms of which three courses would be ideal. What's nice is that in those blocks, you might think, well, there's more than three in that block that I really want to take, or maybe there's one in repro that I want to take, or meat science that I think would complement. So we have an elective group where you can choose other classes that are of interest to you. And so you can take 2 additional classes, and we just leave that as a upper level, graduate level in animal science. You can also consider classes in biology, range and ranch management, ag economics, and ag computer resources as well. And that's going to make up the 31 credits. This is just showing in terms of what to expect in terms of a typical timeline. If we're looking at it by semester, students have to be, if you're financial aid, you have to be at 6 credits during the fall and spring semester in order to get financial aid. And so this is showing here, if you're trying to fast track it, you'd be taking graduate seminar, professional communication, maybe 1 to 2 electives to be 7 to 10 credits your first semester. And this example here would be starting at a typical fall semester. Spring, one of the required classes plus the concentration elective. Internship during the summer. That's what we typically encourage students to consider, because especially if they're going out of state or out of region, it gives them that time to focus in solely doing just the internship and not doing coursework. And then the fall, come back in the fall and complete required courses as well as the elective for either the concentration or the elective block to complete your 31 credit hours. So what is the industry examination? Again, that would be a required component in terms of students passing in order to complete the degree. So we have the American Professional Registry of Animal Scientists. And so this is called the ARPS organization. And what's wonderful about this industry examination is it's not anything that we do here through Tarleton. They're both industry-based assessments that students can complete. And so with the ARPS exam, you can be species specific. They don't do a general one. So whatever area that you've really kind of developed your niche in terms of animal production, you then will complete an online examination through ARPS. So they have categories for beef cattle, dairy cattle, horses, companion animals, poultry, swine, sheep, goats, meat science, dairy science, and then poultry science, product science. So you can choose, and you work with the ARPS organization to determine which exam that you would like to complete. You'd work with your advisor first for helping you with that. There's also several tutorials as well as suggested material to prepare for this. This would not be an exam you want to take cold. This would be one that you'd want to spend some time prepping for. So you would work with your the graduate coordinator for this program, which right now is myself. And so I would work with you starting the semester before you would graduate in prepping for this exam. And then the semester of your target examination, you would take it within the first 6 weeks. So again, if you don't pass it, then you have the opportunity to retake it. And you can retake it as many times as you need to in order to pass it. It's all online. Your first attempt is actually paid for by ARPAS as a graduate student, so there's no cost involved. After that, the examination cost is anywhere from $25 to $50. So it is a minimal fee, but the goal is that you pass it the first time. What's nice about this is you actually, if once you pass it, and they don't give you a grade, they just say that you've passed it or you failed it. You actually get the results immediately because it's online. You then have an option of becoming a registered professional animal scientist. You now can gain membership, and that's an additional credential that you can add to your CV and your title. If you choose not to take the meat science within the ARPAS exam, there is a secondary examination that, especially if you're in the meat science concentration, that students can sit for. And this is the meat evaluation certification through the American Meat Science Association. This again is a proctored exam. The last one's proctored as well. I forgot to mention that. That is an online proctor examination that you do. This one's proctored as well through the American Meat Science Association. And so this one, you're focusing on five key aspects of animals or meat science: animal harvesting procedures, meat cut fabrication and identification, meat science principles, carcass and cut evaluation, and then beef grading through the USDA. So those are the areas, and on the far right, you can see those listings of those topics that students would have to be prepared for in terms of answering. It's a 100-question examination. And this has been, again, designed by the industry so that successful completion of the examination is really meeting the industry need based on the 4 criteria below in terms of assessing competency, validates knowledge and skills, allows employers to identify and connect with skilled candidates. So again, your curriculum as a MAG student plus taking the examination is really what is key in terms of employers being able to identify, because you have that additional credential, whether it's this meat evaluation exam or the ARPAS exam. And then it jumpstarts individual careers, because on both of them, once you complete them, you can register within those organizations, which just gives you that additional leg up in networking. So expected timelines, all graduate students through the College of Graduate Studies have to maintain, or expected to maintain, a GPA of a 3.0 or higher. If not, you get put on probation or suspension, depending on the criteria. All graduate students are expected to abide by the student handbook policies for our department, as well as the College of Graduate Studies and the university. There are going to be specific deadlines and due dates that you would, once you apply, accepted, and undergo orientation, that the College of Graduate Studies will inform you of. And so there are specific graduation deadlines, just like it was for your undergraduate degree. And then lastly, in terms of expectation, it's on the student themselves in terms of communicating with their College of Graduate Studies advisor. And so we have one specifically for the MAG program through the College of Graduate Studies. And then you're going to have a coordinator, really, that's going to be instrumental in terms of any questions related to your concentration, but then also your internship placement that you need to work with. So it's important that the student is staying in contact with both the advisor as well as the coordinator for the MAG program in order that they stay on track. This slide, even though it's a little hard to read, I apologize, but I think it's really critical in terms of understanding the expectations of graduate school in general. So one of our faculty, Dr. Kimberly Wellman, developed this handout, and I think it does a wonderful job in terms of really, outside of the academics, just expectations and how to set up yourself for success. And I won't read the whole thing, but really what it comes down to is time management, understanding, being diligent, and understanding, that role that you have in terms of academic responsibility, being able to use planning, delegating, preventing procrastination or minimizing procrastination, because procrastination is something that we all do, staying motivated to avoid burnout, and then developing healthy lifestyle habits around your role as a student, because especially if you have dual roles, having that lifestyle and healthy balance is really, really important, because you can get stressed out very easily, especially when you're procrastinating. So developing those early on in your graduate career is really important. Okay, I'd like to introduce you to our current faculty in animal science. This is just the graduate faculty, and so I introduce them because these are going to be, if you choose to come into the Masters of Ag program, these are going to be your instructors for your coursework. So Dr. Frank Owsley is a professor, interim dean for the College of Agricultural and Natural Resources. His focus is in animal nutrition, specifically swine. And other areas of interest for him are animal care, well-being, nutrient management, as well as animal ethics. And so he teaches non-ruminant nutrition. He also teaches the ethics and environmental course, as well as environmental physiology. Myself, so I've introduced myself at the beginning, but my background is in equine nutrition. I'm a professor and I'm currently the interim department head for animal science. And so my interest in terms of research and graduate programming is in equine nutrition as well as exercise physiology. So just a list of some of the recent research projects that I have been involved in, as well as my graduate students. Dr. Kimberly Gay, associate professor. Her background is in animal physiology and behavior, as well as welfare. Some recent works that her and her graduate students have done investigating the use of cannabidiol and hemp production animal physiology, as well as the effects of transport stress on livestock well-being. Dr. Ellen Rankins is a new hire here. She's the director of the Texan Therapeutic Riding Program. And her research for her is going to focus on equine welfare in the context of equine-assisted activities, as well as the human and horse interaction in those specific activities. Gabriela Perez Hernandez is the director of the Tarleton State University Southwest Regional Dairy Center. She's also an assistant professor in our program. She would teach lactation physiology, advanced dairy science. Her research interests are in dairy production management and physiology of dairy cattle specific to lactating cows. Dr. Rafael Martinez, assistant professor. He teaches a lot of our reproductive physiology coursework, advanced equine reproduction. And his research focuses are in equine reproductive physiology, biotechnology, fertilization techniques, embryo production, with the goal of improving reproductive efficiency and advancing techniques within the equine industry. And so he has some great collaborators within the industry, as well as all of our faculty in terms of facilitating those internship placements. Dr. Jessica Leatherwood, co-director of our PhD program for the College of Agricultural and Natural Resources. She's also our graduate coordinator for the department specific to the Masters of Science program. So that would be our thesis program. Her research is focused in equine nutrition specific to the young athletic horse, investigating supplementation and how it might affect bone and cartilage development. Dr. Zulia Contreras, assistant professor. She teaches endocrinology, genetics-based coursework. Her research is focused in ruminant physiology, most recently specific to small ruminants and heat stress, as well as molecular genetics. Dr. Cheyenne Runyon, professional associate professor. Reproductive physiology is her area of interest. She teaches all of our undergraduate reproduction courses, as well as advanced equine or advanced reproduction for our graduate coursework. And her focuses are understanding cellular and physiological interactions between the embryo and dam, with the ultimate goal of applying new knowledge toward practical strategies to prevent pregnancy loss, both in humans as well as in livestock. Dr. Samantha Barker is our meat scientist. She's an associate professor. She would be the key faculty involved with the meat concentration within this program. And her research focuses in meat quality, palatability, as well as oxidative stress and post-harvest color stability. So really what occurs in the meat product post-harvest. Dr. Edward Webb, he teaches physiology courses as well as environmental physiology, and then also has an interest in stress physiology. His research focuses in production animal physiology. He really is a jack of all trades. He is originally from South Africa, and so he offers a wealth of international knowledge in terms of animal and livestock production. And so he teaches several of our graduate courses. Ruminant production from conception to consumption is really his true area of focus. Again, he's got this wide broad of knowledge and has some excellent industry partnership, especially for international, those that are interested in international opportunities. And lastly, Dr. Kimberly Wellman, assistant professor, her focus is in ruminant nutrition, physiology, muscle biology, evaluating specific nutrients and how they impact animal performance and muscle development. She teaches minerals and vitamins, muscle physiology, and she also has a very wide background in multiple species. And so she's one of our advisors like Dr. Webb that has a nice plethora of background in terms of species experience in both nutrition and management. So why choose animal science? So just want to take some moment to kind of give some testimonies from past students and why they chose an advanced degree in animal science at Tarleton State. So for one student, I always wanted to have a career in animals. When I took domestic A&P, I was really hooked. I enjoyed learning more about livestock production, especially nutrition. And so in terms of a graduate degree, this is where you have the opportunity to truly develop critical skills and communications. Almost every single course that you have is going to be geared in which you are really applying what you have fundamentally learned as an undergraduate at a more advanced level. So classes in graduate programs are certainly much smaller. Average size is anywhere from 8 to 15. And classes are taught very differently. It's from almost like a flipped classroom approach where, it's more discussion and critical thinking based. The lecture content is still there, but there is certainly a lot more ownership on the student in terms of instead of maybe understanding general facts, now is taking that information and applying it. And a lot of industry applicable concepts are introduced in classes so that you are prepared to meet industry challenges, real life current industry challenges. So communication skills, applying what you learned in an undergraduate in a more in-depth way. And I think that's one of the advantages of master's graduate programs in general is that you can really tailor your coursework in areas that you have a really specific need. And with the MAG, we highlight that with the concentrations in the internship. Additional students, I wanted to develop solutions for problems facing the animal agricultural industry. Truly enjoyed hands-on learning research experiences during the undergraduate degree, which turned into desire to dive deeper and enhance their understanding of reproductive physiology. So in grad programs, you can contribute to industry-wide problem-solving efforts, again, through your coursework as well as the internship experience, allowing you to select that focus that interests you and run with it. And then in the world of animal meat science, there's always a need for continued research and education, and really the opportunities that come with advanced coursework in terms of the ability to kind of focus in those key areas in advancing technology in meat and animal science. We have a responsibility to feed the world and continue duty as agriculturalists to enhance our knowledge in this field to help obtain those goals, and a master's degree certainly helps achieve that. So another student, why they chose animal science, I think I had a passion for livestock from the beginning. The concepts clicked for them. What I learned as an undergrad is what I've always had a knack for teaching. Wanted to combine the two in a career, which led me down the route for graduate programs. So advanced degrees may help you achieve a specific goal. If you know the career that you want, degrees may just be a means to an end. Conversely, advanced degrees can help you figure out what you do or don't want to do. This is equally valuable. Potential careers for those that graduate with a Master's of Agriculture. If you have an interest in teaching, academia can be one of those pathways. Most of our current Masters of Agriculture students, academia is not a path that they consider. But we list this here because those opportunities do present themselves. So instructor, lecturer, are opportunities within the industry itself: sales, nutrition, reproduction, animal technician, animal health, breed associations. Again, this is a very short list. There are hundreds of opportunities and jobs that are out there. Some students come in as far as thinking, is this kind of a stepping stone for vet school applications? And it can be. Um, um, the coursework that you take for a master's degree are not required for a vet school application. So, and that's kind of the misnomer that students think. And so it's the prerequisite courseworks that you would take as an undergraduate is what the vet school applications are looking at. But having advancing your education can be just as beneficial if you're in that limbo in terms of waiting to get accepted into graduate school. Having the additional credentials are extremely helpful. And again, it gives you that opportunity to develop more knowledge in areas that may be lacking in a professional veterinary program, such as nutrition is one. Very limited nutrition as in vet school. It's the same thing in medical school. So this is a way in which you can enhance your education going into a professional program such as veterinary medicine if you were to choose such as a nutrition. And again, especially if you have a gap year between graduation and entry into vet school, this is a great way to kind of fill that gap year with additional experience through the internship as well as the coursework. And again, the emphasis for our MAG program is the important component of the internship. So the advanced coursework that you'd be getting is instrumental. It helps you build that critical thinking skills and theoretical knowledge, but it's the internship that really is the key component, which I think places our graduates at the greatest advantage with that. And so again, lastly, thank you for watching. If you have questions about our Masters of Agricultural program and animal production, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. This is my contact information here on the screen. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jones. That was so helpful to have you walk through that for us. For our live audience members, if you do have questions, I invite you to submit those now using the Q&A box or the chat box. And while we're waiting for those to come in, I did have a few questions of my own for you, Dr. Jones.
Sure.
For the benefit of people who may not know, Tarleton actually operates in several locations. We have our main campus in Stephenville, Texas, and then we also operate in Fort Worth, Waco, Bryan, Texas, and online. So where is the Masters of Animal Production offered?
It is offered at the Stephenville campus. And so while some of our coursework is available online, students should expect to come to Stephenville for a majority of their coursework. It's not uncommon for our students to commute if they live in the regional area. In fact, we have probably 2 or 3 that do just that. And so they commute in on the days that they have their courses. Their internship does not have to be in Stephenville. In fact, we encourage it not to be. So while we have Stephenville as our primary campus, it is quite possible for students, as long as they live in the regional area, to be commuter students.
And so when are courses offered? What time of day? And is the intention that people would enroll full-time, or is part-time enrollment an option?
It's really an option for the student. So for financial aid, full-time is 6 credits. We have all of our graduate courses are offered in the mornings, either on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, or Tuesday, Thursdays. And we do that because mainly for our Master's of Science program, because our graduate students in our Master's of Science program are heavily involved in our undergraduate teaching program. And so they help with laboratories, and those are all in the afternoon. So majority of almost all of them, I can only think of one class that's offered in the afternoon for our graduate program in this fall and then one in the spring. They are all morning classes. So it's possible for a student to, take their classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 8 to 10. And then that gives them the flexibility of the afternoon, Tuesday, Thursdays if they have work. So this program really can be done by those that are also professionals and have careers.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
College of Ag is a huge part of the university and has some amazing facilities and resources. Can you talk a little bit about what's available for students when they come?
Yes, that's an excellent question, and that's something I should have added to this slide because we have a fantastic agricultural farm. It's located about 5 minutes from main campus. Stephenville is a very rural community, and we have a fantastic agricultural farm, which includes a majority of livestock production units. So we have a sheep unit, we have a dairy center. Southwest Regional Dairy Center. We have a swine unit. We have an equine center. We have a feedlot. We have beef cattle. We have goat production. So the farm is designed to be a production model on all aspects. The only thing we do not have are poultry. So we do not have an active poultry. We have the facilities for it, but we just don't have an active poultry center. But the farm sits on about 800 acres. There are other agricultural units out there. We have a horticulture program. We have ag mechanics, several beautiful state-of-the-art facilities out there. We have a retail store, and so we have a meat science lab, and so there are several of the units, production-based units, sell products through our retail store. That's all student-driven. So within our coursework, we try to implement as much of that hands-on experience as well, including in our graduate courses, and we're able to do that because we have a production farm.
So prior to this, Tarleton already had an established Master's of Science program in animal science. So I'm just curious, why was this new animal production program implemented, and how should people think about which degree program might be the best fit for them? Animal science versus animal production. What are some distinctions between the two?
Yes, great question. So the Masters of Science in Animal Science, that requires a thesis research component. So students take 36 credit hours through that program. And that one is more selective in a way that you have to identify a faculty mentor. The faculty mentor has to have research funding for a project. And then you go through a different selection process. So with the thesis option is geared for those students that might want to go into a PhD program. They might want to go further into academia. They might want to go into research and development aspect of animal health, nutrition, reproduction, and physiology. So that one specifically has a research thesis component. Coursework is not different between the programs. All the courses that you just saw on the slide, the Masters of Science students are taking the same courses. There's no difference in that. All the courses are open for either their Masters of Science or Masters of Ag. So there's no difference in the coursework distinction. The Masters of Ag are geared for those students that really want to go into the production industry. They want to get that additional curriculum, advanced education, but they want this to be basically a terminal degree, and it's set up as a terminal degree where they can then have that advantage to going into an elevated position upon entry into the industry. So one is industry focused and based. The other one is set for a continued path either into an additional graduate program or specific into research and academia. There are some careers, as mentioned, for some career areas within the group that I said that require a master's of science. So, and again, that's where it's really important for you to visit with faculty mentors as well as industry professionals to find out, okay, which pathway would be I be better suited for. Do I do a master's of science or do I do a master's of ag? The master's of science is rigorous for the research component. The coursework, as I mentioned, is all the same. It's rigorous regardless if you're a master's of ag or a master's of science. So, but the additional component for the master's of science is that thesis or research requirement.
Thank you. That's so helpful.
Mhm.
You mentioned this is set up as a 4-semester program. So at what
Mhm.
point would a student take the industry exam?
Their last semester. So if you started in the fall with the target of finishing the following fall, then it would be at the start of the fall semester that you would want to take the industry exam. At that point, you should be through the majority of your coursework. And then you work with your academic advisor to start preparing for that the semester before.
Thank you. And it sounds like in terms of internships, the department already has relationships and partnerships established. So would students be placed in internships based on their particular concentration and interests?
Yes, and that's key. And so yes, we have industry partnerships already because of our rigorous undergraduate internship requirement. But then also we are seeking out additional internships for the Masters of Ag. One benefit of a student undergoing the Masters of Ag program is they have more time that they can dedicate to an internship because they're not taking 15 hours of coursework. And then we also encourage and try to place students in internships that they're going to get paid. And so our goal is to place the student, but that being said, doesn't mean that if the student has an internship idea and has a connection with someone in the industry, we're happy to accommodate that as well. It just has to be a novel internship. It can't be something that they're currently doing. And then also it has to be in their specific concentration. So if they're in a meat science concentration, it needs to be in the meat industry. If they're a nutrition, it has to be in nutrition, or the focus scope has to be focused in nutrition and so forth.
Thank you. That was going to be my next question.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes.
And
Yes.
so I believe I saw 6 hours for the internships that over 2 semesters.
It can be, we prefer that it's all done in one and that's solely what the student is doing. So if they do it during a spring semester or a summer semester, that is what they do, is that internship. Sometimes it works out where they require that we have a student right now that they did it during the summer, but it's going into the fall semester. And so we just paired it where they register for the summer and the fall. And we did that so the student can stay full time for financial aid. So there's ways that we can accommodate that for the need. But really it just depends on what internship cooperator they're working with, what the internship, what the cooperator has for them, and the duration that they need the student. And then meeting those needs that are going to benefit both the cooperator as well as the student.
And so it's 6 credit hours. Do they receive a letter grade for their
They
work?
do. They do.
Uh,
Yes.
and the supervisor determines that.
There's two main components to that. So the student has to provide weekly reports back to the MAG coordinator, just so that we can document the time that they're spending there, and that we know that they're meeting benchmarks that are established during the initial consultation for the internship. So they do weekly reports, and then the supervisor does an evaluation of the student. And then the student does evaluation of the experience itself. And then they either do a written report or they give a presentation. Often we opt for a presentation in an undergraduate course because up to this point, even though it's a new program, up to this point, the ones that have done an internship, a master's, a graduate student internship, they're internship organizations that an undergraduate can do as well. And so it gives them an opportunity to highlight the internship And then also the undergraduate students are like, oh, that's really interesting. Maybe I could pursue that. So it benefits us as far as highlighting internship opportunities for undergraduates. And then it gives the graduate student an opportunity to orally present their experience.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Since preparing for the industry exams, does their regular coursework prepare them, or you had mentioned something about study materials? Does that come from the exam organization?
Both it does. They just have suggested resources. So for the ARPAS exam, there we do have gaps. We've realized this last summer. There are gaps in our curriculum. We are adding an animal health component as well as farm animal medicine in the spring in our upcoming curriculum because those were gaps that we realized from students that took the ARPAS exam this last year that we are not getting enough into our curriculum. And so we're adding that to the curriculum that students can take as electives. But there are resources, specifically on the ARPAS, they do have a list of resources. Most of it is designed for a senior level undergraduate student that the exam is. It's not designed for only, you have to have but the idea is that you would have a foundation as a senior undergraduate student. So senior undergraduate students can actually take the same exam. So it is it's production based, but you have to demonstrate a high understanding of production related to nutrition, reproduction, genetics, health management, preventative health, and so forth. So they have lists of resources that students can access. So it's working with the program coordinator, our MAG program coordinator, to identify those resources early so that they're preparing to take that exam. So there's a lot of resources. We have resources here in our department. Oftentimes the student just has to look back on their notes from that they took as an undergraduate and then complement that with what they've learned as a graduate student. So there is a lot of planning in that we're understanding now. So it's not something that we can just schedule a student to take. They need a plan for that first.
Mm, yes. One last question, and I just want to make
Yes,
it
ma'am.
people who are watching. A master's thesis is not an option for this program because their students are doing the internship, right? So if they were wanting a thesis experience, then really the Masters of Science in Animal Science would be the better route for them.
Yes, that would be the program that they would want to go into. Now, it's not is if a student wants to switch into a program, that's always possible. Just like if they switch from a master's of science, or I'm sorry, a bachelor's degree, if they switch programs, that's possible. Um, but that's typically not done until the end of the first semester. And then the student has to make sure that they've met the entry requirements for the Masters of Science, because the entry requirements for the Master of Science are different from the Masters of Ag. So for if they did want to switch to a Master's of Science, like they're going through the program realizing, hey, I'm really interested actually in research, even though they're currently in the MAG, they would have to undergo the entry requirements for a Master's of Science, which are they have to identify faculty mentors. Different. Master's of Science is going to be different. They require that they have a committee of 3. They have to have a faculty chair that they have to seek out. The faculty chair has to have money for a research project. So it's not impossible if they decide to switch, but it would have to be something that is done after the first semester and that they meet the requirements for the Masters of Science.
So then, is it accurate to say the Masters of Science in Animal Science is more catered to academia aspirations, and then
Mhm.
the Masters of Ag in Animal Production is more for industry practitioners?
Yes, absolutely.
All
Yeah.
right. And so maybe that will help people think about which bucket they should fall.
Yes, yes,
Very good.
yes.
Well, this has been so exciting. Best wishes for you all as this new program gets off the ground. It's definitely well conceived and well constructed, and I'm sure it will be very impactful to people who are wanting to really um, distinguished themselves in the ag industry. So thank you very much for your time. I didn't see any questions from our live audience, so I think with that, we can end our webinar for today. So
Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Iku.
yes, thanks so much. And have a good rest of your day, everybody.